The last line of defense in Canada seems to be the Senate. Now, we have some very outspoken and popular Conservative members of Parliament here in Canada, such as the main one, Pierre Poilievre. And in the Senate, we have Senator Don Plett, who's a Conservative, and he is very vocal about how incompetent Justin Trudeau is. And the Senate is usually supposed to be way more professional and less of a zoo than what question period for federally elected members of Parliament are, and that seems to be the case. But Senator Don Plett doesn't hold anything back. He's like that old uncle or grandpa who just says, "This is dumb." Like, it's awesome. So we're going to take a look at a series of videos from Senator Don Plett of talking about how much CBC spent on a failed lawsuit against the Conservative Party of Canada in the 2019 elections, the carbon tax, and some other of Justin Trudeau's failures. So I highly encourage you to stick around for the entire video, the entire duration. And before we get into it, I want to encourage you to give a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Really helps grow the channel, as well as please consider turning on post notifications so it adds a layer of insurance in order for you to be notified of upcoming videos. And just a friendly reminder, really quick, I did not say that coming stickers are available for purchase down in the description or the pinned comment below. Without further ado, let's get into this video.
CBC has 144 corporate directors, paid six-figure salaries. Their average over $135,000. I find it interesting. There are 144 well-paid directors at CBC, including 10 who work in legal services. Yet none of them have found the time to answer a question I've had on the order paper for 2.5 years. The Trudeau government won't say how much the CBC spent on its failed lawsuit against the Conservative Party of Canada, which it launched during the 2019 election, Senator Gold. Leader, in February, you said the delay in answering my question is not contempt. If it's not contempt, what is it? When can we get an answer that's been there for 2.5 years?
Senator Gold.
The delay in the answer, my answer to your question is it is very regrettable, and I've expressed on many occasions my unhappiness that answers are so delayed or, in some cases, not forthcoming. It is all what I undertake to do, as I have done in the past, and others will judge with what success, but I will undertake, again, to bring this to the attention of the government and underline the impatience of senators in this chamber with having to wait so long for their answers.
Senator Plett.
Today is the Senate's 9th sitting day this fall. And as of this moment, not a single delayed answer has been tabled in this chamber from the Trudeau government. Not yet, Senator Labuschagne-Benson. Not just for any of my questions, but for any other senator's questions either. Why is that, Leader? Why are we getting only a handful of written answers today?
Because we're independent.
We're getting them today. I have 128 questions on the order paper. How many more years will I have to wait to have them answered? I'm retiring in 2025.
Senator Gold. Senator Gold.
Well, I certainly hope, Senator Plett, before you and I both have to leave this August chamber, that more of your questions will be answered. And I am doing what I can do to bring this issue to the attention of the government. It does not serve any of us well for the Senate to be frustrated in that regard. And so, as a representative of the Senate to the government, I will continue to pass that message on.
Senator Gold, 3 New Brunswick Liberal MPs are calling on their own Trudeau government to axe the tax on home heating fuel.
Hear, hear.
These 3 MPs also want their Trudeau government to undertake a study to measure the impact of carbon taxes in New Brunswick and in rural Canada. Minister Guilbeault promised to give this very information to the 4 Atlantic premiers back in May. He failed to do so, Senator Gold, and the premiers have been asking for it ever since. Leader, now that their backbench MPs are asking for this information, will the Trudeau government finally relent and hand it over, or will they continue to hide it, even from their own MPs?
Senator Gold.
Good question.
The government of Canada continues to believe that the price on pollution is a necessary and important component in its overall strategy to address climate change. It has put into place measures that provide returns to individuals, depending on their province and their circumstances, that offset the impact of the price on pollution. And in this regard, the Government of Canada remains committed to doing everything that it can do in partnership with the provinces, in partnership with the territories, and in partnership with the industry to address the existential crisis that carbon-driven emissions pose to our well-being, indeed to our planet.
These three MPs from New Brunswick yesterday had a chance to show some backbone and vote against the Prime Minister's carbon tax in the other place, but they failed to do so. Were they whipped, Leader? Is this typical of Liberal behavior? Say one thing and vote another way?
Senator Gold?
Well, I am not a part of the government, though I represent them here in the Senate. And with regard, I really have no comments to make as to what is done in the other place vis-a-vis controlling members of any caucus, Liberal or otherwise. The fact remains, as I've said, that the policy of the government remains, and it's one that the government will continue to pursue.
Although Canadians have much to be grateful for, this Thanksgiving there are too many people in our country struggling to survive. We should never forget that. On Tuesday, a food bank in Montreal said they're unable to keep up with demand. For the first time in 37 years, they've had to turn people away. Their executive director calls us a disaster, Senator Gold, saying, and I quote, "We see more people who have jobs. We see more students who can't make ends meet. Families, everyone is knocking on our door." The Prime Minister is a Montreal MP, Senator Gold. It's hard for him to relate to suffering in his own backyard when his own Easter vacation cost taxpayers $230,000. Wow. Isn't that right, Leader?
Wow.
Well, thank you for your question. The problems of food insecurity facing Canadians are very serious, and that's why this government has put into place many measures in order to address this. An initial commitment from Canada's 5 top grocers to take concrete actions to stabilize prices. The government is taking measures to strengthen the Office of Consumer Affairs. The government is also calling on all grocers to adopt a grocery code of conduct to improve transparency in the industry. And it will also improve the availability and accessibility of data on food prices and the cost breakdown throughout the food chain. And indeed, as I think I mentioned before, and we'll again, we will be studying Bill C-56 in due course, where important improvements to the competition law are being introduced. All these measures will be one step, an important step towards helping Canadians deal with this crisis.
Senator Plett.
The Prime Minister continues to live far outside the real world. A record number of Canadians cannot feed themselves, yet his government continues to implement policies that make groceries more expensive. 3 weeks ago, the Prime Minister promised food prices would be stabilized and ideally lowered by Thanksgiving. Senator Gold, does your government honestly believe that telling Canadians more coupons and flyers are coming fulfills that promise?
Senator Gold.
As the minister announced today, we are expecting concrete actions from the 5 major chains with proposals to lower the cost of groceries for Canadians. The minister has also been in touch, as he was encouraged to do so, by business groups with other important players in the chain. This is about concrete action with those responsible for food prices, and that's what the government's doing.
Government Leader, I hope the Trudeau government would have come to its senses by now and abandoned their changes to our passports, but they never, ever admit a mistake. The Trudeau government has claimed removing images from Canadian history from our passports occurred after 10 years of consultations. In June, you said it reflects the feedback the government heard from an extensive process of consultation. A written answer tabled in the other place indicates this consultation, Leader, was with 4 federal entities and through annual telephone surveys of passport holders. That's it? That's all. Why did the Trudeau government mostly just consult with itself and decide it was okay to erase our history from Canada's passports?
Senator Gold.
Well, thank you for your question. I don't believe that you were implying that consulting Canadians through surveys on an ongoing basis was somehow not a worthwhile exercise, or that the voices of individual Canadians should not count. As I mentioned in this chamber, when passports are redesigned every 10 years or so, the images are changed. The governments of the day make their choices. It is simply not the case that the passport images with which we have become familiar over the last 10 days, and many of us hold dear, necessarily reflected the full history, the full diversity of our history, and certainly not certainly not a history or an image of Canada to which increasing numbers of Canadians could see themselves. The decision to change those images were made in the light of the changes in our country, and were made after consultation with Canadians.
Senator Platt.
One of the reasons why the Trudeau government refuses to admit it was wrong is the massive cost attached to the changing of the passport design. Leader, a project budget of $161 million was set in 2016. However, 3 years later, Leader, a contract was awarded worth $284 million. Wow. Over $250 million. That's a high price for Canadians to pay for having images of our history removed from passports. Leader, the new passports are poor quality. They have covers that damage and curl easily. Does that mean your government is going to pour even more money into this? And if so, how much?
Senator
The cost
Gold.
of the passports were not exclusively a function of the design. The security measures that were necessary to protect Canadians were an important part. And once again, this government took the steps that it thought appropriate to reflect Canada as it has become and is becoming, and to provide secure passports for Canadians' protection abroad.
Last night, the Minister of Innovation admitted the Trudeau government has frozen the work of Sustainable Development Technologies Canada. This is a federal foundation, Senator Gold, that the Trudeau government has given $1 billion over 5 years to distribute to green technology firms. According to external investigators, in 2020 and 21, this foundation gave $38 million in emergency relief COVID payments to companies it had previously dealt with without proper eligibility, monitoring, or reporting, Senator Gold. Leader, this is yet another example of waste and incompetence on the part of the Trudeau government. No one was giving this foundation proper oversight. Senator Gold, is anything being done to recoup these taxpayers' dollars?
Senator Gold.
Thank you for your question. Colleagues, as soon as the government learned of the alleged wrongdoing and engaged a third-party expert to conduct a review, government has received the report. The government takes these findings seriously, and that's why it's taking the immediate corrective action, including implementing the action plan by December. As this process continues, the government will monitor the situation. It expects all organizations funded by the government to adhere to the highest standards.
Senator Platt.
The only reason why Canadians know about this waste is because a group of whistleblowers came forward. I hope the Prime Minister isn't going to go after them the way he did with the CSIS whistleblowers earlier this year. The investigators also found issues with conflict of interest and other mismanagement to funding. Yet, this past summer, the foundation said the allegations were all unfounded. Leader, how much taxpayers' dollars have been spent on salaries, expenses, bonuses at this foundation under the Trudeau government?
Senator Gold.
I do not have the information that you've requested, but I will repeat. The government, upon learning of this, took the appropriate remedial action and again expects all of the organizations funded by the government to comply with the appropriate and strict standards.
Thanks so much for making it to the end of the video. If you want to support the channel financially, you can do so by checking out the merch shop linked right up there. Or if you want to do something for free, which is also absolutely acceptable and highly encouraged, you can subscribe right there. If you want to continue watching videos like this, you can do so by clicking or tapping right there to watch the next upcoming video. And if you want to watch a little bit of different content, but also Canadian stuff, you can do so by clicking right up there. That's my second channel, House of Canada, also known as the House of Commons Highlights. Thank you so much for watching. I look forward to seeing you in the next video.